Hello everyone. Last time we have started with the chapter Some Basic Concepts of Chemistry. So today we are going to continue with this topic and we'll be mainly dealing with properties of matter and their measurement. So first we'll begin with the properties of matter. Over here we are talking about matter. So we know that matter is nothing but which occupies space and has volume. So different kinds of matter will have different properties, or the particular properties will be having. So which can be classified into two categories. They are physical properties and chemical properties. So to know about the physical properties, they are the one which can be measured or observed without changing the chemical composition of the substance. That means the overall appearance will be changing, but the chemical composition of the substance will remain same. So whenever physical properties, if it is asked, what should come to your mind? It should be nothing but color, order, melting point, boiling point, density, etc. That means which will not affect the chemical composition of a substance. They are said to be physical properties. So next one is chemical properties. So they are the properties where substances undergo a chemical change in chemical composition. As a result, the examples which is given is the one, that means the chemical composition of the substance will change. As a result, what will happen? It will be entirely a different compound will be formed there. Like for example, coal burns in air to produce what? Carbon dioxide. So that is nothing but the chemical properties. That means a chemical reaction will occur there. Okay, so hopefully this thing is understood, and you can give many more examples of chemical properties like burning of paper, then what, magnesium wire burns in air to give magnesium oxide. So there are many examples. All the reactions normally what we see over there in chemistry will be nothing but coming under chemical properties there. Okay, as now you know about what are properties, now we will understand about the measurement of properties. So when we talk about measurement, what should come in your mind? It is nothing but it should be quantitative in nature. It will be always what? Quantitative in nature. That means some or the other quantity is involved in that. Okay, that is why we call it as measurement. Okay, you are measuring something, you will have a figure, that means a number will be there and some unit will be there. Like for example, you say 10 centimeter. 10 is a number and centimeter is a unit. So that is nothing but measurement of properties. So we can say that properties of matter are quantitative in nature, and that can be mass, length, area, pressure, volume, time, etc. Many more example, amount of substance. Okay, so many such examples are there of properties of matter. It can be anything like luminous intensity, anything which give me a number or a number along with a unit is nothing but called as the measurement of that property. Okay, so any quantitative measurement expressed by a number followed by units in which it is measured are nothing but related to measurement of that property. Okay, now as you know that for measurement a number as well as the unit is important, we'll understand what are units first. Okay, now for that, what is unit? The arbitrarily decided and universally accepted standards are referred as units. Okay, that means we have randomly taken one as a standard, and by comparing it with the standard we will be taking the other numbers. Okay, we'll be evaluating the value there. Okay, that means we are not supposed to do that. That is already fixed now. Already it is been mentioned what is a conversion. Everything is there now. Okay, you just have to understand what is a unit of what now. Okay, now basically these units are in different system. Okay, now there are three systems which we have to study. What are that? CGS system, FPS system and MKS system. Okay, now over here the first one and the third one, that is the CGS system and MK system, is very important. In chemistry you will come across sums in some of the chapters. There, for solving the numericals, you should have an understanding of this system, then only you will get your answer right at the end. Okay, so the basic thing is this. You have to understand that if someone asks you what are the units, what are the different systems, several systems in unit, it is CGS system and MK system, which is very important to us, and one more is their FPS system. Okay, now what do you mean by CGS there? Okay, C refers to centimeter, G refers to gram, S refers to second. Okay, in FPS, F refers to foot, P refers to pound, S refers to second. In MKS system, M refers to meter, K refers to kilogram, S refers to second. That means we can say that we will be mainly focusing on which two unit? CGS and MKS system. Okay, so over here the first one, that is C and M, is nothing but of length there. Okay, C and F is nothing but the unit for length. G and K is a unit for mass, and S is the unit for time there. Okay, so where it is important, now for example a numerical is asked to you. Okay, over there, like they have mentioned the mass of the body and the length which it covers. Okay, just an example there. Okay, now for example, if the mass is given in kilogram and they have mentioned the length in centimeter, we cannot solve the problem till we convert any one into the same unit. Okay, same system of unit. Okay, that should be in your mind, which is very important. Either you convert it into MKS system or you convert it into CGS system. That means you can convert, I told you, I have given a sum in which kilogram is there and centimeter is there. Kilogram for the mass thing and centimeter for the length. So what is important, you just have to convert any of the one in one unit. Either you can convert centimeter into meter, so that now it is in MK system, or else you have to convert kilogram into gram, so that now it will be there in the CGS system. Okay, so please understand this thing. This is very important. Okay, always remember this thing. You just had this word CGS and MKS. C is centimeter, G is gram, S is second. MKS is nothing but meter, kilogram and second. So before solving the problem, just check whether all the units are in the same system. Hopefully you understood this thing. Now we'll see what is SI units. In 1960, General Conference of Weights and Measure proposed revised metric system called International System of Units. They are said to be now SI units. That means normally we say the MK system is referred as the SI unit. Okay, so they are having 7 base units. Okay, and they are the fundamental scientific quantities which is normally used. Okay, now we'll see the 7 base units in detail. Once the fundamental units are thorough to you, you can derive some of the units from that thing. Okay, like speed, the unit for speed, volume, density, etc. can be derived from this 7 base units. Okay, so there are 7 types of fundamental units. They are length, mass, time, electric current, thermodynamic temperature, amount of substance, luminous intensity. So hopefully you know now what are they: length, mass, time, electric current, temperature, amount of substance and luminous intensity. Okay, so the second column refers to the symbol for that specific quantity. Okay, so for length the symbol is L, for mass it is small m, for time it is small t, for electric current it is I, for temperature it is capital T, for amount of substance it is small n, and for luminous intensity it is IV. Please note note time and temperature. Time is small t, and for temperature we write down capital T. Mostly over here you people are confused, so just refer this. Okay, so now we'll see the SI unit of each one. For length, the SI unit is meter. For mass, it is kilogram. For time, second. Electric current, ampere. Temperature, Kelvin. Amount of substance, mole. And for luminous intensity, it is candela. Okay, and the last column refers to the symbol for each of the SI unit. Okay, so the length is expressed in meter and the symbol will be M. Mass is expressed in kilogram and the unit is kg. The time is expressed in second and the symbol is small s. Current expressed in ampere, capital A is the symbol. Thermodynamic temperature, it is expressed in Kelvin and the symbol for this thing is capital K. Amount of substance, the SI unit is mole and the unit over here is, please understand, it is mol. And the last one, luminous intensity, the SI unit for this thing is candela and the symbol will be written as CD. Okay, so hopefully it is understood and you have to learn this thing by heart, these 7 basic fundamental units. Okay, now we'll see some of the physical properties. First one, mass and weight. So as you all know that matter has mass, so mass is an inherent property of matter. So we can say that it is a measure of the quantity of matter a body contains. And one more thing very important, mass remains same even the position is changed. So that is very important, which we have to understand. Okay, so the mass of the body does not vary as its position changes. This is very important. Okay, and on the other hand, what is weight? Weight is a result of mass and gravitational attraction. That means if the position is changed, the weight will change. So I can say that weight of the body varies because the gravitational attraction of the earth for a body varies with the distance from the center of the earth. So always remember, mass remains constant, weight will vary depending upon the location. Okay, so we can say that the mass of a body is more fundamental property than its weight. And one more thing you just have to understand over here is the basic unit for mass is in the SI system is kilogram, as we have seen, and you have to always remember the conversion. Okay, so 1 kilogram is equal to 1000 gram, that is equal to what, 10 raised to 3 gram. Okay, so please remember the conversions properly. Okay, so 1 kg is equal to 1000 gram. Second property, length. So length arises in properties such as atomic radius, bond length, wavelength of electromagnetic radiation, and so on. So the unit for length is meter. So basically we have to see the conversion, because normally in chemistry the quantities are very small, therefore fractional units of the SI unit of length are used. Okay, so for example 1 nanometer is equal to 10 raised to minus 9 meter and 1 picometer is equal to 10 raised to minus 12 meter. So you have to remember these conversions. Okay, next one is volume. Volume is nothing but the amount of space occupied by a 3-dimensional object. So we can say that it does not depend on shape, and for measurement of volumes of liquids and gases, a common unit called liter, which is not an SI unit, is used. Okay, so common unit will be what? Liter. But we haven't seen that thing in the SI unit, but basically it is used. Okay, so you have to learn again the conversions over here. 1 liter is equal to 1 dm cube, that is equal to 1000 ml, and that can be written as 1000 centimeter cube. So basically you can say that 1 ml is equal to 1 centimeter cube. So this is very very important. 1 liter is equivalent to 1 dm cube and 1 ml is equivalent to 1 centimeter cube. So I can say that 1000 centimeter cube is equal to 10 into 10 into 10. Okay, so of volume, SI unit of volume is expressed as meter cube or m cube. Okay, so basically hopefully you understood this thing. These are some of the apparatus which is used in chemistry, and these are normally used to measure the volume of liquids and solution. Okay, so the first one what you can see over there is graduated cylinder. Second one is the pipette. Third one is the burette, and the last one is the volumetric flask. And a volumetric flask is used to prepare a known volume of a solution. That means normally when we prepare a standard solution of something, we take volumetric flask. Okay, so hopefully you'll remember this during practicals and all. This is very very important. Okay, the name should be learnt, or you should know the names of the apparatus there. Okay, next is density. Density is the mass per unit volume of a substance. So it is determined in the laboratory by measuring both the mass and the volume of a sample. So normally when we want to calculate density, mass is divided by volume. So to find out the SI unit of density, we just have to do is we have to divide the SI unit of mass and the SI unit of volume. So what is SI unit of mass? It is nothing but kilogram, and SI unit of volume is meter cube. So therefore we can say that the SI unit of density is equal to kilogram meter raised to minus 3. Okay, so what will be the CGS unit then? CGS unit, I just have to convert kilogram to gram and meter cube to centimeter cube. Therefore the CGS unit will be what? Gram per centimeter cube, or I can say it is gram centimeter raised to minus 3. Now as you know that 1 ml is equal to 1 centimeter cube, you can replace that centimeter cube by ml. So my CGS unit can be written as gram per ml or gram ml inverse. Okay, so hopefully you understood this thing. Next we'll see temperature. So temperature is a measure of the hotness or coldness of an object. Over here there are 3 common scales to measure temperature. They are degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit and Kelvin. And from these 3, Kelvin is the SI unit. Okay, so please understand what is the SI unit over here. Kelvin is the SI unit. So over here you can see the thermometers of different temperature scale. So generally the thermometer with a Celsius scale are calibrated from 0 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius, where these two temperatures are the freezing point and the boiling point of water respectively. And you can, when you compare it with the Fahrenheit scale, you can see that 0 degree Celsius is equivalent to 32 degree Fahrenheit in Fahrenheit scale, and 100 degree Celsius is equal to 212 degree Fahrenheit. So now we will see the conversions of each one. So to find out the relation between Celsius and Fahrenheit, the equation is degree Fahrenheit is equal to 9 upon 5 degree Celsius plus 32. Okay, over here for example, if you say what is 0 degree Celsius, convert 0 degree Celsius to Fahrenheit. So it is very simple. What you are going to do, degree Fahrenheit is equal to, you will write down the equation 9 upon 5 degrees Celsius plus 32. So in place of degree Celsius you will write down 0. So if you substitute 0 over there, what will happen? 9 upon 5 will turn into 0. Into 0 will be nothing but equal to 0. Therefore degree Fahrenheit is equal to 32. Similarly, you can do for any of these things, like for example if it is 5 degree asked, you just have to substitute there 5 degree Celsius. So 5 degree Celsius to degree Fahrenheit, it is very simple. Again you have to substitute that value and you will get the answer. Anything 11 degree Celsius to degree Fahrenheit, you just have to substitute the value of degree Fahrenheit and substitute the value of degree Celsius in this equation and you can convert. Okay, so hopefully this thing is very simple. And if you have to convert degree Fahrenheit into degree Celsius, so what you are going to do, you just have to rearrange this equation. So it will be nothing but what, in bracket 5 upon 9 in bracket degree Fahrenheit minus 32 will give you the value in degree Celsius. Once again, what we after rearranging, you can just do it. It is very simple. It will be 5 upon 9 into degree Fahrenheit minus 32 will give you the answer to convert it into degree Celsius. Next one, relationship between Kelvin and Celsius. Over here, the equation is Kelvin is equal to degree Celsius plus 273.15. That means what is 0 degree Celsius? It is nothing but equal to 273.15. Like that, if I ask you 2 degree Celsius in Kelvin, it will be, I just have to add 273.15 plus 2. So it will be 275.15. Okay, so hopefully it is very simple. You just have to remember this two equation. Okay. Next, we are going to learn the laws of chemical combination. Over here, we are going to learn a Gay-Lussac law of gaseous volume. Okay, so over here, it states that when gases combine or are produced in a chemical reaction, they do so in a simple ratio by volume, provided all gases are at same temperature and pressure. So what does that mean? It is very simple. We'll take one example over here, that is hydrogen reacting with oxygen to give water. So over here 100 ml of hydrogen is taken and 50 ml of oxygen is taken. Okay, and it will give me 100 ml of water. That means we just have to understand that here we have to see the ratio of that. So what is the ratio? If we calculate, it is nothing but 2:1:2. That is what is meant by Gay-Lussac law of gaseous volume. That means when gases combine or are produced in a chemical reaction, they do so in a simple ratio by volume, provided all gases are at same temperature and pressure. That means for each and every reaction, there is a simple ratio which it follows. So it has to be proper, then only we'll get the products there. That is what it is meant by Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volume. If the ratio changes, it will lead to some other product. Okay. So one more example of Gay-Lussac's law. Over here, 1 liter of nitrogen reacts with 3 liters of hydrogen to give 2 liters of ammonia. Over here, what is the ratio? It is 1:3:2. That means for this reaction to proceed, the ratio of the reactants and the products will be what? 1:3:2. Okay. That means, basically it means if I take 2 liters of nitrogen, then I have to take 6 liters of hydrogen and I will get 4 liters of ammonia. Okay, so that is what it simply means. The ratio at the end will remain 1:3:2. Okay. Next one, Avogadro's law. It states that equal volumes of all gases at the same temperature and pressure contain equal number of molecules. Over here, I have taken the same example which I have taken in Gay-Lussac's law. Okay, so the reaction is hydrogen reacting with oxygen will give me water. Similar way, 100 ml of hydrogen reacts with 50 ml of oxygen to give me 100 ml of water. That means 2 volumes, I can say the ratio. Okay, so 2 volumes is to 1 volume is to 2 volume. Okay, so that ratio remains 2:1:2. Okay, That means over here in Avogadro's law, what changes I have to make? Equal volumes of all gases, okay, at the same temperature and pressure, that will be equal to the equal number of molecules. That means I can just say, if I have taken 2 molecule of hydrogen, it will react with how many molecules? It will react with 1 molecule of oxygen to give me 2 molecules of water. This is what it simply means. Okay. So hopefully you understood Avogadro's law. Both the statements are very, very important. You have to learn it nicely with the examples there. Okay. So for today, I'll stop over here. Next time we'll continue with the further topics of this chapter. Okay then. Bye.